All right, you guys, what's going on? This your boy Town Business Sports and Entertainment. Man, I got a special guest here. I've been trying to get him on here for a minute, but finally our schedules met. So I got the brother on here coming straight from the Shy. Give it up for Coach Mark. So, Mark, introduce yourself to everybody and give them a little bit of intel about your background.
All right. Hey, how you going? Thank you. I appreciate you for having me here. Yep. I'm up. Am I still in there?
I could
Did I?
hear you.
Okay, yep. I'm Coach Mark Chears. I'm a coach here in Chicago. I coach amateurs and pros. Coach Alex Martin. I coach just recently at Gio Cabrera. And I've coached on the amateur circuit from the USA team to the National Golden Gloves team. And yeah, just glad to be here.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on here. So, I wanted to talk to you about some upcoming events, and I wanted to get your take on some particular subject matter. So, okay, it was announced, a few months ago that we're going to get Terrence Crawford. We're actually 2 weeks away from Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. So, I just wanted to get your take on this fight because you're a coach, and like I say, I like to hear it from the people. I like to give and hear the basically what guys like you have to say because this is your line of expertise. So break down that fight and who do you think wins?
Okay, I'm excited about that fight. It's a good one. It almost reminds me of Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler back in the day. Um, I'm
You
going
sound
though.
like Larry Merchant.
You say Larry Merchant?
Yeah, that's exactly how he described this fight.
Oh wow, wow. I don't know if that's good or not because Floyd told him he don't know nothing about boxing. Well, it does remind me in the regard that you have a highly skilled fighter in Terrence Crawford. Same thing with Canelo, a strong fighter, a bruiser. He's not as technical though as Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler had the types of tricks that only people that were insiders could actually see. So Hagler was actually slick, even though he was rough. Now, Terrence Crawford, I'm giving him the edge, not just because he's from the Midwest, but I like Crawford uh, even coming up in weight because he walks around as a heavier guy. Physically, he's strong. He has a wrestling background. But the thing that's going to make it difficult for Canelo is that he's going to be getting hit with punches that he can't see. So he's going to have something in his face that's just something to distract him. And then he's going to be getting hit in the side, then up the middle again. And that's going to distract him. And also the stab to the body that Crawford uses is going to disrupt most of Canelo's offense.
Wow, coach, that's funny that you broke the fight down like that because somebody else said that's exactly how Terrence Crawford is gonna win the fight. And they went as far as to say that basically they see possibly like a late stoppage because coach, if you would have asked me this about maybe 6 months ago, I would have said no way. But then listening to guys like you who actually know the sport and then doing my own research and I was thinking to myself, okay, well maybe he can pull this off. Because one thing Canelo has trouble with is guys that can move around. And I know people are talking about the Terrence Crawford is going to run. Terrence Crawford is not going to run. What I think is going to happen, people keep forgetting, Coach, Terrence Crawford can hit going backwards. And I think
Right.
I think that's possibly gonna get Canelo in trouble. And I think that's why some people believe Canelo is gonna walk into something that he didn't see coming and where he possibly could end up getting stopped like in the later rounds. So, Coach, I wanted to ask you, about Canelo's fatigue because I've watched quite a few Canelo fights. Do you think how Terrence Crawford wins this fight? Do you think the middle rounds is where Terrence Crawford should like basically try to start teeing off on Canelo? Because between the sixth and the ninth round, you start to see the fatigue in Canelo, and you start to see him like his punch rate go down. And I've seen that happen with Canelo quite a few fights. So do you think that's what Bud should focus on? Like the early rounds, just basically stick and move and just and pick his spots, and then you think towards like the middle of the fight, and then the last quarter that's when you think Terrence Crawford should start like really trying to, distance himself in the fight.
Well, I think that's going to be possibly the strategy that he uses, but I think Crawford is going to try to speed up the deterioration of Canelo's stamina by staying a little closer to him. So he's gonna stay close to him. He's gonna roll some shots. He might even get caught with something early to make people get excited, like Canelo really has a chance. But for the most part, you can see everything that Canelo's throwing. So he's gonna be able to stay kind of close, catch and fire. You're gonna see him catch with the same hand and send the same hand back. You're gonna see a lot of that, especially when Canelo tries to throw the right to set up that left hook. He's gonna catch him and then cover up real quick. And him just being close to him like that, you're gonna see Canelo start to slow down between 4, 5, and 6. And his punches are gonna be really predictable by that round, those rounds. And like you said, that's where the breakdown is going to really start, and you might even see a stoppage around 9 or 10.
That's interesting that a lot of people had predicted Terrence Crawford to not only win this fight and stop Canelo. Do you think one of the things with Bud that he could do, do you think he should punch in between Canelo's punches? Because Canelo, like I've seen this thing, coach, with Canelo, his punches are wide. And I think
No,
if Terrence punches in between them, I think if Terrence Crawford gets off first, do you think, coach, that Terrence Crawford should fight Canelo primarily southpaw and then occasionally switch to orthodox, or do you think he should start off orthodox and then just off and on switch to southpaw?
well, it depends. Crawford switches based on what he sees in front of him. So it depends on what Canelo does and what Crawford sees in his stance. So he's gonna start off. He's probably gonna start off southpaw. I believe he'll start off southpaw, throw a couple of feints, looking to see what Canelo does with that right hand when he throws it. When he throws that right hand, how fast can he get it back? If he can't get it back fast enough, he gonna probably stay southpaw and catch him with his left hand. He gonna catch him to the body. And he gonna catch him with force to the side of Canelo's head because he's not gonna be able to get it back fast enough. And he's gonna do
Okay.
short turns on the inside, and like you said, punch in between, short turns and punch with body motion. So he's gonna turn. Say when he's southpaw, he's gonna spin, throw short uppercuts, take his head off line, look for next shots.
Wow. Man, coach, you really been analyzing this. Like you got one of the you got one of the most thorough breakdowns that I've seen. But then again, this is what you do. This is why I brought you on here. So let me ask you this. Of course, coach, there's been this controversy because the history with Terrence Crawford and Boots. They, whatever the case may be, they were supposed to fight and they never could bring a fight to fruition. And a lot of people was upset, coach, about seeing Boots in camp with Canelo. And even people from Team Crawford's camp was kind of pissed off about that because they felt like, okay, what are you doing, dude? Like you kind of like, you know, what are you doing, dude? You kind of like going against the grain. And I understood this. And you know how I feel. I'll just put it to you this way, coach, because at the end of the day, I have to deal with Matchroom. I have to deal with Eddie Hearn and his people. I'll just put it to you this way. I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. And I'll say that much. I didn't like it. And Boots and his team, they give me a lot of access, and I have to say I did not care for that. But I wanted to get your opinion on that. Do you have a problem with Boots working with Canelo, and do you think that's going to make any difference in the fight one way or another?
I'm not gonna say I have a problem with him working with him because, at the end of the day, it's paid sparring. He got to make his money somehow, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem because Boots doesn't really fight well on the inside, and Boots has a wider stance than Crawford has. Crawford is shorter with his punches and sharper than Boots. So it's going to actually hurt him. It's going to hurt Canelo because he's going to be just a step slow because of that long stance that Boots has, and those long like Boots can get away with those long steps, and those long steps he not really throwing. So when Crawford takes those short steps and he's still there, he's going to be catching Canelo more than Boots would have been catching him. So he really can't prepare for him. um, the things that Crawford does as far as his IQ, physically, he can kind of prepare using Boots, but mentally, Boots' mental is not on the level of Crawford.
Do you think that's because of the level of competition Boots has fought? Because a lot of people like when I was just analyzing this, I was just thinking to myself, I don't think this is going to make that much of a difference just because Boots is quote unquote a switch hitter. I was just saying, okay, maybe this was just some maybe this was like some gamesmanship on the part of Boots. And I was just thinking to myself, okay, I just don't think this is going to be that big of a difference. But I just think me seeing it, knowing that Boots could possibly, if Crawford tends to stay around, that they could possibly have a showdown, depending on the weight class and all that kind of stuff. So that's the problem that I had with Boots. And then, like I said, I don't think this is going to make a difference. So let me ask you this, Coach. I mean, it's funny that you broke down and talked about Sugar Ray Leonard and Hagler. That's one of the most controversial fights that I've ever seen in my life. I've watched that fight 30 times, and my opinion of it has changed a few times. But let me ask you this: if Terrence Crawford pulls this off and he beats Canelo and he becomes, I think, the first ever three-division undisputed champion, is Terrence Crawford like legitimately coaching that GOAT conversation? Because I told Terrence Crawford, I told him back in January when they were just discussing the possibility of this, I walked up to Terrence Crawford, shook his hand, and I told Bernie the boxer, one of his coaches, I said, if Terrence Crawford pulls this off, I think he's the greatest boxer that ever lived. I really think he's in that GOAT conversation. It's just like you guys said. It's just like Coach already know. It's MJ, and then it's, I guess, LeBron, which I don't even think LeBron is close to MJ. To me, I think it's MJ and Kareem. But where do you put Terrence Crawford if he pulls this off?
Man, I definitely put him at the top. You know, boxing is different than a lot of other sports because you have so many different weight divisions, and you could even look at eras where fighters had to deal with different things outside of the ring that fighters today don't have to deal with um, inside the ring. They back in the days, Jack Johnson was fighting with a whole stadium against him. Maybe all his fans was serving drinks or something like that. So he had to face a whole different animal. So when it comes to that, uh, even looking at Ali, when Ali was great just because of not just because of what he did in the ring, but because he was a people's champ outside of
Mhm.
the ring. I put Crawford in the Ali conversation because Crawford, you can walk up to him outside on the street and talk to him as a champion. He's not afraid of his people, and he's just a real down to earth guy, and he's a bona fide, flat out fighter. If boxing wasn't a thing, he would be in some other type of fighting techniques. He would be the Black Bruce Lee. So I think he's just he's a phenomenon, and that definitely will put him in the conversation as one of the. I think he's already in that conversation, but I think this would solidify him as one of those all-time greats.
All right. Oh, by the way, Coach, I just wanted to give you some intel since you brought up Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, first actual martial arts school was in my hometown of Oakland. So, Bruce,
Hometown, yeah,
yeah,
I
so
saw
Bruce,
that.
yeah. So next time you come out here, man, I'm gonna take you to a couple of spots, man. I can take you to get some barbecue, but I can't take your fighters. I'm gonna take you to either Everett and Jones, or I'm gonna take you to some other spots they got out here.
Oh yeah, you talking my language right now, but I'm fluent in barbecue.
so so yeah. I know one of the owners, so maybe I'll see can we get some plug or something. Okay, Coach. Let me ask you this. Speaking of another fight that got announced, what's your take? And I'm just like shaking my head, and I'm just like, but this is predictable. What is your take on Tank versus Jake Paul in November? And I wanted to get your assessment on Jake Paul, period, and Tank, period. I just wanted to ask you, what do you think of this spectacle? I don't even know, should we call it a fight, because from what I heard, from what my people was telling me, Coach, this is going to be an exhibition match. So basically this is not going to count against either guy's record. But what do you think of that fight? I just like, wow. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I think it's just a money grab. They Jake Paul is a very smart businessman, and but the thing I don't like is he's getting people to. It's almost like a sellout of the sport. And Tank is still a young, strong champion. It's good fights. Lamont is still out there for him. It's plenty of good fights out there for him. And to take this fight, I'm not gonna knock anybody's hustle. If he gonna make a bag, 40 million, something like that, I can't knock him. But I don't look at it as a real boxing match. It's just a, exhibition thing, and just to keep the non-casual fans, or the casual fans, I should say, happy. People looking at it, to give them something to talk about. And I hate to say it, but it's black and white always sells. Black versus white always sells. And it's just a money grab.
Yeah, and Coach, that's the thing about it. And this is why, like, guys like me, listen, I've never fought professionally before in my life. Yeah, I trained and all that stuff, but I just think, me as, a consumer, I look at Tank and he's going this direction when basically, to me, people want to see Tank fight the guys. Like you said, we want to see the rematch with Roach, due to the fact that many people, including myself, believe that Roach won that fight. And then, based off the way the fight ended, where it left a lot of boxing fans with a bad taste in their mouth, with Tank, taking a knee which should have been counted as a knockdown, and then him coming up with these elaborate excuses that he had too much hair grease in his eye, and I just think it's a bad look for Tank, because I feel like he got unfinished business. And this is why a lot of people have criticized Tank about his, opponent selection, because we want to see Tank fight the Teofimo Lopez's, the Devin Haney's, and Shakur Stevenson. And based off him pulling a move like this, and then Tank is actually talking like he wants to get out of boxing after this fight. So that's why I've been very critical of Tank, and I'm just disappointed, because I feel like this could have been something he could have did like on the back end of his career. But like, to do this coming off such a controversial fight, I think it leaves a bad taste. And the diehard boxing fan, or even the dude that just follows boxing, because there's three type of boxing fans. There's the diehard boxing fan like me, then there's the knowledgeable boxing fan that knows enough about the sport, and then you have the casual. So I just feel like Tank making a move like this just I just was like, wow. So this is why I'm disappointed in Tank, and this is why a lot of people think Tank isn't, when it's all said and done, this is why people compare Tank to Triple G. Because me myself, I watch Triple G and I look at his resume and look at how he was carefully matched, and I'm just thinking the same thing. So what's your take on Tank as a fighter, and just his him as a whole, where he is now at the age of 30? Do you think he's fought the best guys out there, or you know, or he could do a little bit more, or he needs to still prove himself?
Well, it's a lot of good fights out there. It's still for Tank. 130, 135 is a loaded division. So it's plenty fights out there. I think that would like you mentioned earlier, Crawford separating himself and putting himself in that conversation. And with this move that Tank is doing, it's kind of taking the serious consideration. I think it's going to damage his legacy. If he fights this fight, he's gonna have to come back and fight some names. And if he makes this his last fight, it's gonna damage his legacy. They're gonna say, people are gonna look at him as a quitter, a traitor to the sport. He just took an easy fight and went out. And then you mentioned earlier, like on the back end of his career, I would understand it because Muhammad Ali fought a jiu-jitsu fighter or something late in his career. And even Mike Tyson, after his career, and Roy Jones taking, strange fights at the end of their career or when their careers were over. But to take this kind of fight in the prime of your career is
Age 30. He's
age
30.
30. Yeah, he's his best years. And to waste them, the time, the training, the effort on Jake Paul, I don't think it's good. I think he need Calvin back in his corner to give him some different kind of advice.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So, you know, um, I wanted to also talk about, a fight that was just announced. And okay, so we got October 25th, we got Keith Thurman versus Sebastian Fundora. The power forward that fights at 154. Fighting guys that's like 5'6", 5'7". So I mean, I don't respect Fundora, and I went on record to say that. But here's the thing, Coach. The makeup for it, we got a good scrap on the undercard that I think you'll like. This is going to be a good scrap. We got Steve Fulton versus Oshaki Foster. So I want to start off with Sebastian Fundora and Keith Thurman. I just wanted to get your opinion on that fight, and I definitely wanted you to give your opinion on Sebastian Fundora, just period as a fighter.
Man, well, I just started saying he's a good fighter. He does things well, but I can't knock him because of his height. What, he's about 6'7" or something like that.
Yeah, 6'7".
Yeah, man.
He could be playing small forward for the Bulls.
Easily, man. He's a giant. He's tough, but I've seen him get destroyed one time.
Yeah.
So, it's about game plan. It's somebody for everybody. So he's tall, but he does have weaknesses. They matching him up good. They matching him up with, good people that he do well with. Um, he's tough to beat though. With that height and the way Abel, I think he's still with Abel. Is he with Abel still?
No, he trained with his father. His father is his trainer, so
Oh,
he
okay, that's
trained.
right. That's right. Yeah, they got him using that jab good. Um, bringing his hands back. He throwing uppercuts, and which is tough to deal with from the angles that he coming from, being so tall. Um, I can't knock him. No, I can't fault him because he tall. Almost like Wimby, the kid Wimby that plays for the Spurs.
For the Spurs.
Yeah, but it's somebody for everybody because that one kid that got him out of there. They haven't talked about a rematch with him.
Oh yeah, man. I think it. Yeah, Brian Mendoza. I think that wasn't. I think that's one of them things where that wasn't supposed to happen. I'm not saying that the outcome was predetermined. I'm just saying it wasn't supposed to happen. And I just think,
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to go down like that.
just like I think Tank underestimated Roach, and I think me myself, I think Tank got somewhat of a mental block. I think that Roach fight really bothered him because I watched that fight closely, coach, and Tank hit Roach with some shots that usually put people on their ass, and Roach just kept coming. And Roach fought like the perfect fight against Tank. He was like, he was picking him off with short shots, and then he hurt Tank quite a few times. So that's why I was just like, okay, but yeah,
But
with
they friends though. They've been in the same region, as amateurs for the longest. So they got rounds in together back in Baltimore. So that's a different situation right there. They really were friends, sparring each other. Now in a rematch, if Tank's head is right, it might be a different story. Don't get me wrong. I like Roach. I know his father, real good people, and he's a good fighter, and he's an athlete. So you can't never count him out. But in my opinion, that fight needs to happen again to erase all doubt. And to take this fight against Paul with all of that doubt still out there, who knows though? It could be a genius. It could draw more interest, especially depending on what happens in this fight. It could draw more interest down the road for Tank and Lamont. But Fundura, you know, um, right now it's a lot left to be seen. It's a lot left to be seen. Right now, it's almost like a circus show.
Yeah, and that's the problem that I just have with him. And I know, coach, it's no height minimum or maximum, but I just seeing somebody that big out there fighting, and it just bothers me because I think, well, man, you should be at, and then the fact, coach, it's amazing that he even can get down to 154 pounds being that tall. I'm just thinking to myself, damn, at the very minimum, he should at least be fighting at 168, maybe even 175. And I don't know.
Yeah,
But like you said, I mean, I guess as long as he can campaign down there, I mean, technically he's not, breaking any, bylaws of the weight division, even though, Quad has kept out and hurt some things, but we ain't gonna talk about that. But but we'll leave that alone. I already we'll leave that alone. But I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get a letter sent to me.
right,
But
right.
but okay, so coach, what about Steve Fulton versus Oshaki Falls? I like both of these guys because people thought Steve Fulton was done because of what happened with Anyway, but anyway, that's a different type.
That's a
That's a
different
different.
animal.
Yeah, that's a different animal. So and then Oshaki Foster, he's a workhorse. I just think this is going to be. I think this fight is going to actually probably be better than the main event.
Yeah,
So
that this one it definitely is. Talent, skill wise, this probably should be the main event. Now, who's going to win? I'm going with Oshaki just because naturally Oshaki is a bigger fighter, a bigger guy, like we were just talking about with Fundora being naturally bigger, taller. And, Steven's frame he's a smaller frame guy. And Oshaki kind of big. He's kind of solid guy.
yeah, I seen him in person. I covered a couple of his fights. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of solid, yeah, strong guy. So I think he's gonna be able to wear Fulton down. But Scooter slick though.
Mm. So you going with Foster to win?
I'm going with Foster.
Okay.
Now don't get me wrong, I like Scooter. I like Scooter a lot, man. I had a fighter that went 1-1 against Scooter. He lost to him in the he beat him in the Junior Olympics and lost to him in the National Golden Gloves, Christian Williams. And I saw the development in Scooter just down through even in them young years, I saw his development. And he's developed into a world class. He's definitely a world class fighter. He's an A-level fighter. But so is Oshaki. He just at a bigger weight. And I think both of them are tough as far as the grit. They both tough. They both dogs. I just think that bigger dog is going to win.
Okay. Okay, so coach, one last prediction. I wanted you to break down one last fight. Okay, so um in November we got we got David Benavidez versus Anthony Yard. I got Dennett. I pretty much got damn near Benavidez like washing Anthony Yard, but the co-main event, I wanted to get your take on Devin Haney versus Brian Norman Jr. I think that fight is going to be fireworks. I'm cool with both camps. As you know, me and Bill is both from Oakland, so I ain't been able to get in contact with Brian Norman Sr. He been treating me like I'm an op or something. But I'm not in camp. I'm not in camp. I give you my word, Coach. I'm not in camp with Team Haney. I know
Not a
I know where
plant.
they, yeah, I know where they training at though. I know where they training at though, but I haven't went there, but I wanted to get your take on that fight because I know Devin Haney was ripped to shreds, based off his performance versus Ramirez, but it take two to tangle. Ramirez, he didn't do much of anything himself, but this is
Mhm.
gonna be this is gonna be the real comeback fight for Devin Haney because you got a knockout artist and Brian Norman Jr., who got dynamite in both his hands. Oh, shout out to my homie Ben Chris, one of the best Instagram guys. He really know how to put together shit on Instagram. Shout out to my boy Ben Chris. All right, so how do you see that fight?
Ooh, man, that's a good question right there.
Go,
That's
hey,
probably the hottest question right there.
speak your truth. I want to hear this. I want to hear this.
Well, now I like, Devin Haney has been working with Nate Jones, who's here out of Chicago. So I think what we saw was the beginning of the transformation in his style and his technique through Nate. Shout out to Big Nate. But he's and one other thing that he has an advantage in is that he's been in these big fights like that, these big shows, these big press conferences, and all of the fanfare that goes with being in these big type of fights. But Brian Norman, man, that power, that power, and Haney has shown a questionable chin at times. You seen him get hit and stumble back to the corner before, and
I was at
like
that fight, Coach Lenoris. I was at that fight.
Linares, yup,
I
yup.
was at that fight.
You saw that? He stumbled him a
I
little
was
bit, had
there.
him shaky legs. But one thing I do like about Haney is he rises to the occasion. Except in that fight that he had the trouble with Ryan Garcia, he rises up to the occasion. And you know, man, I'm gonna go out on the limb. I'm gonna go with Haney, man. I'm gonna go with Haney just based off of the experience and the ability to rise to the occasion.
Okay. You know what, Coach? I got to be fair. I got to be fair to both Bill and Brian Norman Sr. I deal with both of them, so I'm just gonna say, may the best man, may the best man win. Hey, Coach, I want to ask you something. One last question, a bonus question before you go. Um, One of the problems that you as a coach have to worry about is cheating, whether it's dudes like fucking with their hand wraps, and I know that is a constant thing that you have to worry about because if you get distracted, they can slip something in and then, the PED things. Coach, I done seen a lot of fighters. Vito Manicki, the guy he just fought, he tested positive for PEDs. Then the dude that knocked out Jaime Mugia in the first fight, and then they had a rematch. Jaime Mugia won, and Jaime Mugia tested positive. And then, as you know,
Wow.
uh, Canelo's coach Eddie Reynoso has had 6 fighters that has had ties to him that tested positive for PEDs, and I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. I'm trying to figure out why hasn't this, like, why hasn't this been made a big deal out of? Because I feel like, coach, that's not fair to you. You guys are risking your life going out there, just to fight. And the
Yeah.
last thing you need is somebody being enhanced. But I just want to ask you, like, are they really taking this thing serious, or is just like, it got to be, are they just being basically selective who they come after?
Man, that's a good question. You know what? I think they take it serious to a degree, but as far as commissions are concerned, commissions vary from state to state,
Okay.
and and so where one commission may be stricter than another one, things can get passed, and then whoever has the most money has the most say so. So we need the commissions to be a completely neutral part of the equation where they're doing it in a situation where they know that these things are a possibility. They need to have drug testing before and after the fight. So, you do that drug test before, but once they do that drug test, they can go to the bathroom and take something, that'll enhance them, and nobody can ever know because they passed that first drug test. And so they need to be a little bit more diligent there. And then VADA testing should be across the board, or some form of VADA, um, Timu VADA, some form of VADA should be in place to test these people on a regular basis during training camp. Because sometimes people they taking these things during training camp, and then they wean off of them closer to fight time. But they still have gained an unfair advantage in muscle growth. So integrity is missing. A lot of people are lacking integrity in the sport, whether it's coaches, whether it's people in the commission, whether it's promoters, managers. People are lacking integrity. So we have to get back to where integrity is lacking. Rules have to be in place to make people do what's right. So we're gonna have to toughen up as far as the commission is concerned. Provide better testing in the cases where like you mentioned, Reynoso, where there's known situations. Automatically, we testing y'all. Be ready for drops.
Well, coach, let me ask you. So, what do you think would have happened to you if you would have had six fighters that you trained, or at least had some kind of acquaintance with, that tested positive for PEDs? Do you think you would still have your license,
Man, I'd be
or
driving
or,
a truck for
or do
Amazon.
you or do you think you would be in jail? Like, or do you think you would get the Panama Lewis treatment? And rightfully so. What Panama Lewis did, he deserved everything that happened to him. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's what I'm trying to ask you. What do you think would happen to Coach Mark? Do you think you would get a visit from some people like, hey man, can we step in your office right quick?
I'll probably get deported. Yeah, ICE would be out here sending me back to a place I don't even know about. But yeah, man, I think it's with that reputation that Reynoso has, I don't know him, but man, with that stigma that goes behind it, somebody protecting him, man. Somebody's protecting him, and they need to keep a closer eye on his fighters. Just like just to go to a different sport, basketball. Remember how Dennis Rodman, or even more
Mm-hmm.
today, Draymond Green. Some
Mm-hmm.
things that Draymond did got looked at harder than other players because it's Draymond. He's known to do these things. Same thing with the coaches that's doing that thing. If if they're known to do these type of things, these type of behaviors, they got to be looked at tougher and dealt with tougher.
Okay, so basically it come down to it being politics and possibly a popularity thing. Because like I
Yup.
said, yeah, because coach, I'm gonna just say this, like, the problem that I have in particularly with PDs, it was just how um a lot of fighters turned on Devin Haney, and I had a problem with that. And then the whole thing about lawsuits and all this stuff. And then basically I provided a lot of intel about lawsuits, and they tried to act like Devin Haney was the first fighter that ever sued a fighter before, because Sugar Ray Leonard, as I told people, Sugar Ray Leonard got sued by Donald Curry because Donald Curry felt that Sugar Ray Leonard finessed him out of the Hagler fight. Lennox Lewis sued Hasim Rahman to force him into a immediate rematch, and then Lennox Lewis sued Mike Tyson to force the fight that they had, and then Steve Cunningham, my man Steve Cunningham out of Philly, he was gonna sue a fighter that tested positive for PEDs, and I was just really upset about that. And then the thing about Ryan Garcia cheated, and then Ryan Garcia was treated like he was the one that
The
did wrong.
victim.
I was just like, I thought I was like in the fucking Twilight Zone when I saw how Devin Haney was treated. They called him a snitch, a snitch. Like, dude, what are you talking about?
Right.
And then this ain't the streets. So
Right.
like, what are you
Street
talking
rules
about?
here.
I was like, what, a snitch? Like, dude, what are you? And this is why I know, Coach, that a lot of these people don't know nothing about the streets, and they just are dudes that just do a whole bunch of talking. But yeah, man, I was just puzzled by that. And then the thing was, Ryan Garcia got caught in several lies about how that shit got in his
Yeah.
system. And he was, and I mean, he was literally he came up with these conspiracy theories that Bill Haney intercepted his piss and sent it. And like, bro, like, dude, man, wow. But yeah, I just was shaking my head. I was just like, how did you feel about that when you just saw like what went on, like how Devin Haney was treated? I just couldn't believe how he was treated. Like
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm
Like
missing.
he did something wrong for calling him on the carpet. But he did everything within his rights. That's what he should have did. A lot of people saying it was only a small trace amount. It shouldn't have been no amount. It shouldn't have been no amount of a performance enhancing drug, ostarine, nothing. It shouldn't have been nothing. And these people got to be dealt with. When you see that type of thing, I think what the Haneys were doing was good for boxing. They was trying to make an example that other fighters could follow. That when folks cheat you, you call them on the carpet and you hit them where it hurt. Hit them in that wallet.
Yeah,
And it happened to him. He had every right to do what he did because it happened to him. People could say, well, he wasn't that strong. I'm like, well, you weren't the one that was getting hit by him.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's easy for somebody. Yeah, it's easy for somebody to say, well, that dude ain't got this, he ain't got that. Devin Haney was the one that had to get hit with those punches. Like, Coach, that's like if you catch a fighter and he got loaded gloves and people talking about, oh, well, he should have avoided the jab, and he
Should
should
have
like,
slipped.
dude, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, 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 man, what the fuck are you talking about? This man had loaded gloves. Like,
Had
dude,
dynamite, had a horseshoe in his glove.
yeah, like Margarito, man. Margarito had that shit in his gloves. And listen, and Miguel Cotto was never, and I'm gonna tell you something, Coach. Miguel Cotto, even though Miguel Cotto went on to fight to a Hall of Fame career, he was never the same after that fight.
Yeah, no, he wasn't the same after that. He wasn't the same. That he took a beating that fight, man. His mouth looked like hamburger meat.
Man, he was getting hit so hard, Coach. He was when you see a dude getting hit so hard, they taking knees while they see a dude coming towards them. And I knew something was wrong too, because
Right,
I never remembered Margarito having that kind of power.
right.
And so I'm just speaking to you as a coach because you're the one that got to deal with that type of shit. So, I mean, how would you feel, Coach, if you caught somebody, and I know, Coach, that you have to watch people's hands being wrapped, but Coach, is it possible? Because some people act like it's just impossible to catch somebody trying to put something in their hand wraps. I mean, Tyson Fury got caught, he got caught with something, and his he got caught where his gloves was altered. It
Man,
took, it basically took, basically the referee like, hey man,
what's
what's up?
this?
Yeah. So coach, is it possible for you to miss something like when you watching? Because I know you have to watch these guys hands being wrapped, but is it impossible for you not to, catch something?
You know what? I tell you a story. I had one of our fights when my fighter was 13-0. He fought another kid who was 13-0. So I went in the dressing room of the other fighter to watch him get his hands wrapped. And I'm watching, and the commission is watching too. And so I see him, he's doing stuff, he's layering, he's putting tape, then he's putting gauze. He's putting tape, then he put gauze. I just let him finish. And when he got almost to the end, I hit the commission. I say, he's layering those wraps. That's illegal. And then the commission was like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. And the
Mm-hmm.
coach, he looked at me like I did something to him. I was like, you knew that wasn't right when I let him do it. I wanted him to waste his gauze and waste his tape. So it can get past people because sometimes the commission, you don't know who these people are that they hired. It's somebody's nephew they brought in that don't know what a hand wrap's supposed to be like. Or if I didn't know, I know because I wrap hands that what he did was illegal. But you could definitely get it past some people.
Oh, stop right there, coach. Y'all hear this? Y'all hear this? So for all you motherfuckers that be coming on my channel or come on other channel talk about, the commission. Now he just said this about the commission. He just said this as a dude. He's a coach. He's a trainer. It could be done. So when y'all be sitting up here acting like y'all, this is why I brought Coach on. I'm letting you hear from people that actually know what they're talking about. It can be done.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on here. So, Coach, tell everybody how to reach you on social media for interviews and all this kind of stuff. Because I'm gonna keep bringing you on here. So I'm definitely gonna bring you on here post Crawford Canelo. So tell everybody how to find you on Instagram and everything.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to being on here again. But on Instagram, you can reach me at Chop Sizzle, ChopSizzle.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Man, you welcome on here anytime.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad we finally got a chance to hook up. I
Uh,
remember when you was right there with us in Stockton, California, man. You was probably one of the only fans we had out there.
at the end of the day, I gotta do what I gotta do, man. I can't go against the grain, and plus, I lived in Stockton. That's where my ex-wife is from. Ugh.
Oh man.
When coming to Stockton, watching y'all perform and y'all fighter, that was like, what I'm saying, that was the bright spot of being in Stockton, because I just thought I would see a black cloud, because man, I was praying that I didn't run into her, but
Oh man, a hurricane.
yeah, man, it was fun linking up with y'all, man. Hopefully y'all get another gig out here and stuff, man. I'm definitely
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna try to link you up with Bill or something, because Bill, after, if they successful against Brian Norman Jr., they got something big coming up possibly in the Midwest. So I'm definitely gonna tell him to tap in with you.
that's what's up, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day.
All right.
All right, peace.